A lot of people don't know this about God, but God wants to be personable. He wants us to know that He knows us, every detail of our life, and He's watching our life and knows the plans for life. And He also wants us to have a desire to know Him as well. 2 Chronicles chapter 7:14, He says, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face. That's interesting. Like, I want you to seek my face. There's something significant that God wants us to know about seeking His face. And He goes on and says, and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, I will forgive their sin, and I will heal their land. There's something significant that God wants us to know about seeking His face. The word face there in this terminology, it means to know His presence, to seek His presence. Now, this is mentioned several times throughout the Bible, and it's because His people abandoned Him, walked away from Him, and God would say, as a returning back to Him, He would say, return back to me, seek my face again. The face represents the whole person. Like, it represents your relationship of really knowing someone, taking the time to engage in a conversation to where you even know their eye color. You know the details about their face. Can you imagine being in a conversation with someone and they never look at you? They're always staring at their phone, maybe looking over their shoulder as they're in this conversation. They're really not mindful of being engaged with you. This can be frustrating in trying to know somebody or engage in a conversation and then never make eye contact with you. But God wants us to make eye contact with Him because He is making eye contact with us, seeking His face. Psalms 105, he says, here's what he said. He says, we are called to seek His face continually, to look to the Lord and to His strength. And even James chapter 4:8, he says, come close to God and God will come close to you. There's something about this desire to know somebody and to look and engage into their eyes and to look into their face. Now, this is significant. And I think, one, because it shows a heart, a desire to know God, to want Him. And there's something that we receive in return as we seek the face of God. Psalm 63, the psalmist is writing here, and he says the Christian walk is a life devoted. This is what he's saying to us. It's a life devoted to seeking God's presence and His favor. And the Lord wants us to humbly and trustingly seek His face in our prayers and in times while we're reading His Word, to really look through the Scriptures and say, can I see God in this? And can I see His characteristics? Can I even see His face in this? Here's what he said. He wrote this in Psalm 63. O God, you are my God. I earnestly search for you. My soul thirsts for you. My whole body longs for you in this parched and weary land where there's no water. I have seen you in your sanctuary, and I've gazed upon the power and your glory. Your unfailing love is better than life itself, and how I praise you. As you are looking into the face of God, seeking His presence, you begin to see not only His characteristics, not only His power, not only His strength, not only His provision, but you begin to see through His eyes how much He loves you. Can you imagine a parent? As a parent, you're looking at your children. There's something that, as you watch them and observe them as maybe they're doing a project at school, or maybe they're doing a performance, or maybe they're just growing and you notice them, and all of a sudden you begin to smile. You have a smile on your face as you observe your children or your grandchildren. And there's something, there's these warm feelings in your heart and this affection that you have for your children because you're engaging in observing them. And God does the same thing to us. Look at this. And God wants us to know this. In Numbers 6:25, God commanded the priest. He said, priest, I want you to say this and pronounce this over the people. And that is having God's smile on us as an expression of His blessing on our life. His love and favor. Look what He says. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. Now, that's not just one time. And in Psalm chapter 80, 3 times in this text, it's mentioned. Here's what he says: smile on us, O God, that we may be saved. Taking the time or getting close enough to God to see his smile on us. And there's something translated from God's smile that translates into a blessing and favor over our life. He says 3 times in the text, verses 3, 7, and 19, smile on us that we may be saved. God wants you so close to him that you can see his smile. When we draw close to God, we are blessed with his shining favor. And seeking God's face means to have a desire to know his character and to know what he even desires for us, that we're seeking his presence, and more than anything else, we want God's blessing and favor. And you and I can actually see that God is pleased with us as we see his smile. God is watching over you, friend. He is observing your honor and your faith towards him. He is smiling on you as you lean into God and say, God, I'm in a weary and parched land, but I need you. I need your strength. And it brings a smile to God's face as he observes your favor, your desires of wanting him. I'm going to leave you with this, and that is Numbers 6:25. It's the priestly blessing over God's people, and it's what God said to pray over them. And look what he says. He says, pray this over them, and I'm going to put my blessing on them as you do. He says, may the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord smile on you and be gracious to you. And may the Lord show you his favor and give you his peace. Friend, I pray that you are so close to God that you can see him smile at you today.